Hi, everybody. You know me. If you're new to my stream, I like to get right into it because my lives be quick, fast, and in a hurry. They be lickety splickety, for lack of better terms. But you know, I'm still on this Willandjada topic. It's just so many interesting new developments that just keep coming out of the woodwork. So I had to give my commentary on what has been most recently released to the news outlets, which is this letter from Willow Smith. Now, guys, have we seen this letter before? Have we seen this letter before? So the letter reads, if you look at my thumbnail, you can read the whole letter. It's a short letter and it reads, I know you are alive someplace. I think my mommy really misses you. Can you please come back? Can you come back so mommy and me can be happy? I wish you were here. I really do. With a sideways smiley face. Now, I honestly wanted to talk about that because I feel like if you can dissect this letter line by line and just get, yeah, it's from 5 years ago. Hey, Ronica, and get so much out of this one little letter. So I want to dissect it line by line. So let's start with the first line. It says, I know you are alive, right? So here we have an 11-year-old girl, because it's alleged that she was 11 years old when this letter came out. You have an 11-year-old girl having ideations about either one or two things. Either A, people are immortal and can't die, and Tupac is somehow immortal and has lived on forever, or B, Tupac has decided to flee the country and go to another location because of whatever might be going on in America that he doesn't want to deal with. Either way, that's a lot of information to put into the mind and heart of an 11-year-old. A lot of information because the circumstances surrounding Tupac's death were so violent. Hi, Kendall, the long way. The circumstances surrounding Tupac's death were so violent and so devastating that is not something a child should even be privy to. Like, that's not something she should be privy to, in my opinion, until she is old enough to have the brain complexity to understand everything that was going on. Another thing, you are actively and literally married to her father, and she's penning a letter to a man that she's never met in her entire life. You know, it's kind of like me and mommy. Me and mommy, like not daddy, not Jaden. Me and mommy will be so happy. So that goes to show that Jada, if this is real, is having some pretty complex conversations with her daughter about her first love, the intensity of that love, how she's never felt loved by anyone else, and how the love that she felt for Tupac, what she talks about on Red Table Talk very vocally, even Will talked about it, was so magnanimous. It was so out of this world. It was so otherworldly that no one could measure up. So at the same time, you're basically diminishing the value of her father before this little girl's very eyes. Like, there's no other man that she should adore or look up to with such admiration outside of her father, especially because her father is a world renowned superstar. Even if he wasn't a world renowned superstar, no child, man or male or female, should idolize someone in a heroic way who outside of their father, especially when their father is alive and present. Like, that's a little scary to me. So that's what I pulled just from that one line alone. And then she says, I think my mommy really misses you, which means that this little girl at 11 years old is able to feel that her mother has a longing or a calling for a man that's not her father, who she feels so deeply connected to, so much so that she sees this as a longing. Think about when you write a letter to somebody. Usually you write letters to people you love, people who are your friends, pen pals, people you want to build relationships with, or just to jot your thoughts down. So of all the things this girl could be writing about, she feels like, if I can pen this letter, if I can let this man know how much my mother loves him, how much she misses him, how much she needs him, maybe he'll come back and be able to fulfill a void that both me and my mommy feel. Because the next line literally says, can you please come back so me and my mommy can be happy? It's like Jada and Willow have emotionally attacked, like Jada has emotionally attached herself to her daughter in a unhealthy, codependent way. And I know that Jada talks about on Red Table Talk, especially when she did that episode with August Alsina. I don't know if you guys saw it. And then she did an episode with her mom, and she was talking about how she has no respect for people's boundaries, and that she develops emotionally codependent relationships with almost everybody in her life that she loves. And I think it was very vulnerable for Jada to say that. I just didn't know she was doing that with her child, who is 11, who is not even like, a child is not in any capacity, should not feel responsible for their mother's happiness, for their mother's well-being, for their mother's emotional security, for their mother's loneliness. That is a lot of weight to put on a child who can't even process the complexities of their own life. It is incredibly irresponsible for a parent to do such a thing to a child. Like, so much so that you can push your child into having severe mental health issues and psychological issues if you put your child in a position where they feel like they're on eggshells because they don't want to trigger mommy. They want mommy to have a good day. They want mommy to have a smile. They want, like, your child, as a mother, I feel you should not hide your emotions from your kid, because I do believe in transparency with children in terms of, like, this is what sadness feels like. This is what anger feels like. Having that dialogue so that your kids understand their emotions is one thing, but transferring your emotions to your child is completely different. So if mommy's having a bad day, that should never give mommy permission to make sure that her kids have a bad day. That mommy has to be responsible enough to say, I may have to compartmentalize my emotion right now so that I can give my child the best version of myself. And if I can't, then it is my responsibility as a mom to seek help, right? To talk to somebody to make sure that my child knows, hey, look, mommy's a human being too. Mommy's having a bad day, but mommy is not taking it out on you. Mommy is going to talk to somebody about it. And her penning this letter, it was just like, I can only imagine being a young girl and having to carry the weight of my mother's broken heart on my back at 11. That's a heavy load. That's a heavy load for an 11-year-old. Very heavy. And then she's saying, "I wish you were here." Like, for an 11-year-old to be saying, like, almost as if you're an imaginary figure, right? You're like this imaginary person that we wishes were in our life, and we wish you would come back. Like, I wish you were here. I wish you were here to fulfill the load that I can't carry. That's the way I interpreted that statement, because you see, she put the ... behind it. Like, I wish you were here ... because there's so much more that I could tell you. There's so much more that's going on. There's so much weight that I'm carrying. Like, to me, it's the ... that, like, this, like, we're incomplete, right? This thought is not complete because I can't even, at my tender age of 11, which you shouldn't be able to, I couldn't even put together the rest of the words to get you to understand the magnitude of why I wish you were here. Hey, Garden Gal, like, I can't get, I wish I had the words to tell you why I wish you were here. And that's what I see when I see the ... Like, it's more that I need. And that was a very interesting choice. And then she goes, "I really do!" Exclamation mark. And then she draws a smiley face. And that smiley face is turned sideways, if you notice. So it's kind of like, "I really do." And she's like, "I'm unsure if I should be happy about this. I'm unsure." Like, I know that I should feel happy writing this letter. I should feel like I'm accomplishing something great for my mother by pouring my heart out to you as a child. Like, I know that's what I should feel, but I don't understand that feeling, and it doesn't seem right. But I know it should feel right because my mommy said that you are such an important person. And so that's why I feel the smiley face is turned on its axis, because it's like this confused emotion of happiness, confusion, unsure, right? Unsure if this is the right thing to do, but also at the same time feeling as a child that you want to do the right thing to help your mother, to heal your mother. And I don't, to me, if this letter is true, and I hope that it's not, there's a lot of work that needs to go on in the Smith household, like a lot of work, especially when, Will was just talking about how he wanted to make Jada's 40th birthday, his thing. It was going to be his thing, his biggest proclamation of love. It was like, it's like this setup in their household where Jada has not only, and I'm only speculating because I don't live with these people, but based off of just pure language choice of Willow and of Will, it's giving very much so Jada emotionally manipulating and playing with the feelings and love of her family members and making them long for her acceptance and her approval. That's almost how it comes across, and it's very scary. It's very scary when he's like, I wanted to make it my thing. I wanted to be my biggest proclamation of love. Like almost as if Jada constantly makes Will feel like he doesn't love her enough. He's not doing enough. That it's all a show. That his love for her is not genuine. It's not real. It's just his way of wanting to perfect this perfect looking family. And I can understand that from Jada's perspective if that's how Will makes her feel. But if you're able to look at it from the other side of the coin, it's almost like no one can make you happy if you don't make yourself happy. And I think Jada arrived at that conclusion in later episodes of Red Table Talk, where she actually said that I had to realize I had to make me happy. It's like she knows that she's the problem. And I think it's okay for us to call Jada out as the problem because Jada's not in denial about her being the problem. She's not in denial. She's not hiding it. She's acknowledged that she does have some challenges she needs to work on. But at the same time, she's got to let go of this hero complex that she feels for Tupac, who is no longer with us. He's not coming back to save you, Jada. No one's coming back to save you. You got to save yourself. And when you rely on your kids to save you, when you rely on your kids to be your world and to take care of you and to love on you and to fill up your bucket, you are going to emotionally destroy your kids, and they're going to be walking around a lot like Willow. And I don't mean to judge her, but I think it's very evident out of her own mouth that Willow struggled a lot with her identity. You know, she refused to use the last name Smith. Like she dropped Smith as her last name. I think Jaden did the same thing. He wanted to emancipate himself at 15. Like this detachment, like they want to detach themselves from that codependent relationship, that emotional codependence. And when kids aren't able to express their full range of emotion because they never felt safe doing it in their own household, they're gonna try to do it in other ways. And so that's what I saw when they want to emancipate themselves. She wants to drop her last name. You know, she had a hit song, I Whip My Hair Back and Forth, that her family rolled her on and wanted her to be this big star. She shaved her head bald, kind of like, I can't carry the weight of this expectation you guys have of me to live out your dreams. And it's Will's dream to be a Hollywood movie star and to have a family that's a mogul. I was a billionaire, my son's a billionaire, my daughter's a billionaire. Like that was his ideation. That's what he wanted. And then you have Jada trying to live out this ultimate fantasy love story of Tupac, who's a figment of your imagination. You know, it's a lot for some kids to deal with. And I just think, you know, parents got to be real careful how they play, how they treat their kids and how they play with their kids. Even as a child, she knew that she shouldn't trust that this was perfectly okay. Yes, true happiness is sourced internally. Her fixation on Tupac's love all these years later has always seemed weird. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's a major fixation, on him, on like an emotional longing. And I think it gives Jada permission to not heal. Like when you attach yourself to trauma so aggressively, and I'm gonna call it what it is, because Tupac's death was traumatic. When you attach yourself to trauma so aggressively, like this is my defining moment. This pain, it like I am one, and this pain and me are one. Like you attach yourself so aggressively to trauma, you become a very damaged. Hey Letitia, you become a very damaged and broken woman when you attach yourself to so much trauma. When you cannot break free of that pain and you relive it over and over and over and over and over again in your mind, you will be a walking zombie. You may think you're being productive, you may think you're getting on, but once that trigger happens, and all it could be is something somebody said, a passive aggressive statement, any little trigger. Once that happens, you are sent spiraling back down the hill like a tumbleweed, back right into that pain, because you have embedded that pain into your soul and into your psyche. And so that's what I try to tell people whenever anybody, I like my friends, my clients, whoever asks me for advice, I'm like, you got to let that pain go. Because if you don't, it will fester like a sore and then run. In the words of my man Langston Hughes, it will fester. And when you let that mess fester and you start taking it out on people who ain't hurt you, you start taking it out on your kids, you start taking it out on your lover, on your spouse, on yourself. And that's when people get into self-harming behavior. That's when people get into self-harming behavior, and you could spiral into how like people start developing eating disorders, because that's a form of self-harming behavior, or cutting, right? Trichotillomania, all of these different psychological issues that can be precipitated by a deep trauma that hasn't been healed. It's like you have so much built up inside of you, you develop this anxiety and this need to release. And you got to heal that trauma. You cannot attach yourself so deeply to pain so that it becomes a part of your DNA. It's too much. I'm a huge advocate for mental health support, huge advocate, because it'll take you down. Yeah, Raisin in the Sun, it definitely is a beautiful poem. It'll take you down if you're not careful. So I wasn't gonna be on here too long. You guys know I just breezed through to give my little points, but that's how I felt about this letter she wrote to Tupac. I know it was a long time ago, but I still think Willow is that 11-year-old little girl. Every time I see her on the Red Table Talk, I feel like she's on eggshells about everything she wants to say. Like she's not being her free and open self because she doesn't want to say the wrong thing. And like, for somebody to have so much access, so much privilege, and feel so constricted, right? Because I know Willow is famous because her family is famous, but I don't see Willow as her own independent star. I see her more as like a regular kid who's happens to have money and come from a rich family. Like she doesn't like the spotlight. Yeah, she's performing for her mother. Yes, she's like, and I can read it. That's why I never really got into Red Table Talk too much. Like I watch it. The entire dynamic is very toxic, T Lee. I watch Red Table Talk sparingly. Like I was really into it when it first came out, and I gave them the benefit of the doubt because I was like, you know what? It takes a while to warm up to the audience, get used to the cameras. Like she's not used to it. So I gave it a good while. Like this might just be beginner's jitters. But after a while, when I kept seeing that same disposition of her and what and that dynamic with her mother and with Jada's mother, it started turning me off a little bit because I always could feel Willow was hiding something, like hiding something, and she feels like she always has to be on her mother's side because when Will Smith was telling his story about Jada's 40th birthday party, Willow was more so agreeing with her mom, like, yeah, and it was a big splash, like we heard, like, your mommy talked about this ridiculous act you did for her for a long time. Like, it's still something that triggers me, and I was just like, it seemed like she's too involved. She's too involved in like her parents' drama. And like, that's not healthy for kids. It's just not healthy for any kid, adult or not. Like, there needs to be boundaries between parents and children. So that's my little word on Willow in the letter. Thank you guys for stopping in the chat. Make sure to like the live on the way out, and I will talk to you guys next time when there's more breaking news. Bye, guys.